So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome, everybody. So happy to have you all. I do realize there's a little bit of delay. I don't know if that's because of my new camera. It's too fast for my old laptop and my microphone. I guess when you upgrade one thing, you have to upgrade everything. But hopefully you can hear me. That's most important. Awesome. So we are going to start in our child's pose. We're going to go right into our asana practice this evening. To start, I am going to mute us, but you are welcome at any time to unmute yourself, to ask questions, to comment. So feel free to do that. We're going to go through movements for our whole body tonight to improve our flexibility, our strength, our mental well-being. Please modify for yourself and your body as needed. Don't ever force, push, or pull the body into the pose. Our breath should always be our guide. As far as our props go, you can have the usual props nearby: blankets, pillows, yoga blocks, yoga straps, other cushions, chairs, or other furniture, or anything else that you want to bring into your practice tonight. So thanks for being here. Let's go right into it so we can get everything in I want to try to get in tonight. For our first balasana or child's pose, I'd recommend wide knee child's pose, opening those knees as wide as our yoga mat. Please use props to sit back on behind the knees as needed if we do take care of our knees. You're always welcome to have your hips a little higher up in the air. I do want us to have our head grounded. That might be actually on the ground and might be with the use of a yoga prop or sliding our stacked fists or forearms under the forehead. If our hands are extended, we're spreading the fingers not wide and reaching our index fingers to those front corners of our yoga mat, simultaneously melting the heart towards the ground. So this pose does help ground us. It helps bring our mind back down from being scattered, from being distracted. It has a calming effect on our nervous system so that we can let go of our day, let go of where we just came from, and start to recenter ourselves inward, bringing our attention inward onto our breath and our body. It stretches out our low back and the area around our hips. So try to let the weight of the hips sink towards the ground. Even if they're not touching the heels, that's fine. We should have a little bit of space for our belly so that the belly isn't being compressed. We might feel some of our belly along the sides on the thighs, and that's totally normal. So as we do, recenter and draw our attention inward. Let's mentally move through the whole body tonight. Spreading that awareness from the tips of our fingertips all the way down to the tips of our toes. Honoring and recognizing all the areas we might be healing or taking care of this evening. Already feeling gratitude for showing up for our practice tonight, for making it to our yoga mat and to our yoga practice. Sometimes the most challenging part of our practice, just getting here. Start to feel and notice the rhythm of the breath moving with the body. Around the tip of the nose, the nostrils, where it flows in the body, maybe more towards the back side of the body. Try to let the rhythm of the breath be as smooth and even as possible, in and out through the nose. And we'll all take just 2 more cycles of our breath here in Balasana. And let's try to lengthen and stretch out these breaths a little bit more. So allow the breath to grow in the body in our inhale, feeling that expansion, filling ourselves up with fresh air, prana, and energy. Expand those exhales, taking the time to squeeze that air out, exhaling away stale old air and energy. And then we'll all cycle through one more big breath. Just make it your biggest breath as possible. When we get to our next inhale, stretch the hands forward if they're not extended. Press into the ground through the hands, float the head up. We can walk the hands back towards the body slightly as needed. We're gonna bring our whole body up and come right into tabletop pose. So we'll stack the knees under the hips, the hands underneath the shoulders. Keep the fingertips nice and wide. Draw that low belly in and getting some benefit now for our knees from that purposeful compression. Stretch your right foot to the back of the mat. The toes are tucked under. And shift your weight back to that heel as much as is comfortable for you. Opening up the eye of the knee, getting that blood to rush back through the knee. Take another nice big breath in. Exhale, right knee comes down. Other side, keep the low back hips level. Left foot stretches back straight from the hip. We may shift our weight back, pushing into the hands, equal weight in the hands. Be mindful of where the head is in space. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, bring the left knee down. From here, inhale, relax the belly down. Lift the tailbone and extend and lengthen all the way up the spine to the crown of the head into cow pose. Eyes may roll up to the third eye center. On the exhale, pull the belly in, scoop the tailbone under, round it back up to the ceiling, draw the chin to the chest, drishti to the belly button into cat pose. Now we'll each follow the rhythm of our breath, breathing that breath up and down the length of the spine. Inhaling into our gentle back bends. Exhale, rounding into flexion. Try to get some movement in the pelvis around those hips. So if you happen to do an additional physical exercise in your daily routine, cat-cows is a nice way to loosen up the hips, the muscles that run up and down the spine, between our shoulder blades, our neck. Good. We can always hang out in one of these a little bit longer. So if we've been sitting and hunched and rounding all day, maybe we want to hang out in our cow stretch and add a little lateral movement there. If we have tension and tightness in the muscles of our back, staying rounded, really just feeling it out and moving around naturally in this pose. And then we're going to come back to neutral after we balance ourselves out into that tabletop position. From here, let's have the toes tucked under and walk the body towards the back of our mat. So I'm going to start tonight's class as well with some of this fluid movement, some modified Surya Namaskar. This will build up some upper body strength, core strength, and pairing that movement with our breath turns our practice into a moving meditation, but please modify as needed. So toes are tucked, draw on the low belly. We'll walk our hands about 1 hand's distance forward on the floor. On our inhale, we're going to slide forward into a kneeling plank position. We're going to take our time, so we might be taking a couple breaths per pose, and that's fine. Let's check our alignment. We should be able to press into the ground, lift our knees up, and be in a full plank. That's the length that we want. But on our exhale, bring the knees back down. We're coming all the way down. Keep the head in line with the spine. Bend those elbows back. Lower all the way down to the belly and the chest. Keep the chin stretched forward. Flatten out the tops of the feet. We'll keep our feet wider than our hips if we do take care of our low back. Or we'll zip the feet and legs together like the tail of a snake. On the inhale, using the strength of our back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift the chest and the heart. We can engage all the way down into our glutes, into Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose. I'm adding an extra movement to build this upper body strength. So exhale, lower back down. Tuck the toes under, feel that scooping action of the tailbone, low belly pulls in. Now keep your elbows squeezed into the side bodies and press the ground away from you as you inhale and push up to kneeling plank. The exhale will take our bow. Lead with the navel. Pull your navel towards the spine, bow back. Pop those palms up into Hasta Bandha, rising up on our fingertips. The head doesn't need to touch. We're just giving our wrists a break, stretching out the back and the shoulders. That's one round. Inhale, Move back forward to kneeling plank. Keep your drishti slightly forward so the head doesn't do the work. Exhale, kneeling chaturanga dandasana. We're lowering all the way down to the ground using the strength of our upper arm bones. Chin forward, point the toes, feet wide or together. Now squeeze the muscles of the upper back, mid back, low back, even the buttocks to lift up into Bhujangasana. Lift those hands up if you want a little bit more. Squeeze the elbows in. Exhale, bring everything back down to the ground. Tuck the toes in the tail. Pull the belly away from the floor and inhale, push up. Straighten the arms to kneeling plank. Exhale, draw the navel towards the spine. Shift the hips back. Head towards the ground. It's not touching. Hasta bandha those hands to give your wrists a break. That's 2 rounds. We're going to do 2 more rounds. You're welcome to move more quickly, more slowly. You do not have to move per movement with breath, but eventually you might get there. Taking your back bend. If you have a cobra pose that you'd rather practice, feel free to do so. I add this extra exhale coming back down, and then an extra inhale to push up. Kneeling plank. Exhale, take that bow. So we're going to do 1 more round, modifying. If you ever need to take a break, just sit it all the way back to child's pose. Inhaling, kneeling plank. Exhale, kneeling chaturanga dandasana. Inhaling, Bhujangasana. Exhaling, back down to the ground. This is our push-up prep. Tuck the toes in the tail. Inhale, push up, kneeling plank. Exhale, take a bow. But this time we are all going to take a break to child's pose. So when you start to bow back, you can point those toes. You can slide the hands under the forehead or all the way back to the feet, palms up. Pump the fingers a couple times. Give your arms and shoulders a quick break. That was good. I was watching your alignment look good. We should feel a little bit more warmth in our body. Maybe our heart rate's gone up a little bit, the breathing a little bit. That's totally normal. That's what that's designed to do. We're warming, loosening the joints, strengthening the muscles. Take 1 more breath in child's pose. Next inhale, re-extend those hands forward, spread the fingers. Float the head and the body back up to tabletop. Tuck those toes under. Feet and knees should be about hips width apart. Walk the hands about 1 hand's distance forward, shoulder width apart. Draw that low belly in, nice strong core. We'll press into the ground, lifting the knees and the hips up, shifting our weight back, down the legs, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So coming into an inversion here, try to let the head float between those upper arm bones. Drishti can be towards the toes, even the middle of the mat, or maybe towards the belly button if we need to stretch out the root of the neck a little bit more. Keep those knees deeply bent if we need a little bit more lengthening for the spine. Distribute the weight out of the wrist by rooting down through the first knuckle of the index finger and thumb. But let's roll those upper arm bones away from the ears. Pull your shoulders down the back. Good. Now let's inhale and lift up on our tippy toes as high as we can. Heels up, up, up. Good. On the exhale, drop 1 heel to the ground, bend the opposite knee. Doesn't matter which side you do first, just big stretch. Inhale, heels up. And then exhale and switch. Good. So we can continue to pedal our feet at any time. You can drop back down to your knees and just stretch your legs out 1 at a time as a modification. Get some blood flow to our brain at the end of our day here. And then let's take 1 more breath at our downward facing dog. Let's try to find some stillness here. So let those heels sink towards the floor. Draw the belly towards the thighs. Thighs move to the back of the mat. Next inhale, we'll look forward. We'll walk our feet to our hands and hands to our feet. Uttanasana, forward fold. So those of us that modify, knees are bent, elbows or hands on our thighs. Those of us staying upside down in Uttanasana, strong legs. Feel like you're trying to lift your kneecaps up so your quads are strong. Feel the muscles of the perineum or pelvic floor lifting in and up. And those muscles just below the navel center should also be squeezing in and up. Loosening the shoulders, the head and neck as is comfortable. We'll do a little bit of our back strengthening here to improve our posture and the health of our spine. Next inhale is our halfway lift. Hands to shins or higher. Squeeze the muscles of the back again, just like cobra pose. Pull them together. Good. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Strong legs. Pick up your toes even. Really press your feet to the floor. Your legs are supporting you as well. Then squeeze the muscles of the back. Exhale, fold. Two more. Inhale, halfway lift. Those of you that want to add the arms, locust your arms beside the torso, palms face in. You're squeezing an invisible ball. You should feel this in your upper back and your triceps that we just worked. Exhale, fold. One more. Big breath in and squeeze. This next exhale, we'll bend our knees, sit back into that invisible chair, Utkatasana. We'll reach our arms forward and up, and we'll hold and breathe here. So another big, powerful pose. Shrug those ears or the shoulders from the ears. Make sure your knees are pointing forward towards those toes. Modify hands to heart for any neck or shoulder issues. Good. Focus your drishti in one spot. A little bit of balance work right away. So we're still sitting back and down in Utkatasana. We're going to try to squeeze and lift the right foot from the floor. Good. Bring it down. Bring that left foot up from the floor. Hover. Bring it down. Maybe try to sink a little further back and down into our pose. The next inhale, we reach everything up. So we're going to straighten the legs. We're going to reach those arms forward and up to the ceiling. Add the heels. Try to now balance up onto those tippy toes. Turn the palms out, and on the exhale, float the arms down and the heels down. And we'll meet back in Tadasana or mountain pose. So just take a moment here, feel your posture. Starting in the foundation of the feet. Equal weight in the feet. If we need to readjust our stance, do so. You could even look down at your feet. Pick up those toes. Root through the mound of the big toe inner heel, mound of the pinky toe outer heel. Make sure our knees are unlocked. So, you know, some of us are hyperextending knee people here tonight. We like to jam our knees backwards like I do. Little unlocking of the knees, pull those quads up. Front body to back body so the upper body and buttocks lengthens down. Turn the palms forward tonight to counter the rounding we've been doing throughout our day. Feel the heart open. And then relax the face, the head, and neck completely. Big breath in again. Reach those arms out wide, all the way overhead. Add the heels up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale, lower the heels and hands to heart. Just one more palm tree pose. Bringing everything together. Inhale, reach, big stretch. Exhale. We're gonna go into a few rounds of our standing Surya Namaskar now. This is gonna add some lunging. So you may wanna have a towel or extra cushion for your knees. I'm gonna modify but show you the options as we go through it. If we're not at the top of our yoga mat, let's find ourselves standing at the top of our yoga mat in Tadasana. Re-extend those arms beside the body, stand nice and tall. Turn the palms out. Inhale, breathing, reach wide. Overhead, drishti to thumbs to add a little bit more extension. On our exhale, micro bend those knees, hinge from the hips, bringing the arms back around and down into Uttanasana. Inhale, hands to shins or higher. Lift the chest, halfway lift. This exhale bends the knees, plants the hands, and we take a big step back, one foot at a time, into plank pose. Try to remember which foot you use because we'll try to switch it up as we do that. Now we can be in full plank, We may be in kneeling plank. Choose the plank that you can maintain your spinal alignment. Exhale, we're lowering all the way back down to our bellies through Chaturanga Dandasana. Keep those elbows in, lower to the belly. Point the toes, feet wide or together depending on our back. Inhale, use the muscles of the back to lift up, squeeze, cobra. Hands can come up. Feel free to choose another variation that you like. Exhale, everything comes back down. Tuck the toes in the tail, pull the belly in. Inhale, push up. Kneeling or full plank. Exhale to your resting pose. So some of us might exhale back to downward facing dog. Some of us might be hanging out in tabletop. Some of us might sit back in child's pose. So it's your choice, whatever your resting pose is for you tonight. We'll pause here for a few deep breaths. Always come back to the breath. One more breath. Now in the inhale, you may look forward and step your right foot forward straight into a lunge. Otherwise, drop down to your knees first. Take your right hand behind your right thigh and safely place the right foot forward so that the right knee is stacked right over top of the right ankle. You may also keep your left knee down on the ground or hover your left knee from the floor. So we're in our fingertip lunge. From here, we'll walk our hands up to our front thigh, whether we're kneeling or hovering. And inhale, start to bring the torso up. So both hips are pointing forward, especially the left hip. We need to be really strong in our core and anchor our tailbone. If we need to widen our stance, open your feet wider apart. That will give you more of a foundation to balance on. From here, inhale those arms forward and up. Shrug the shoulders from the ears. Those of us that want to transition to Virabhadrasana 1, we angle the back heel in and down. Warrior 1 stance. That will be a bigger stretch. High lunge on the ball of the foot is more balance work. Wherever we are, let's take a breath. Right knee should be pointing towards those right front toes. Low ribs pulling into the body. Big breath in. This next exhale brings us all the way back down. So we need to pick that back heel up. Hinge back forward. Use your front thigh. Bring that back knee down first, if that helps. Hands come down to the ground. Right foot steps back to left foot. You might be in full plank. You might be in kneeling plank. You're more than welcome to go to your resting pose or take a vinyasa. Exhaling, bending the elbows back, lowering down to the ground. Point the toes, plant the feet appropriately. Inhale, use the back to lift up, back bending Bhujangasana. Exhale, coming down, tucking toes and tail, pull belly in, elbow squeeze in, and inhale, push you back up, kneeling or full plank. Exhale, lead with the navel, back to our resting pose where we will all catch up for a few breaths. One more breath. So other side, we may look forward and step the left foot forward into a fingertip lunge, or you can follow me, knees down, left hand behind thigh, place that left foot safely forward, keeping the right knee grounded or hover it. Use that front thigh as assistance, one hand at a time, knee over ankle. So if you're in that low lunge, you might want to take extra cushion underneath that back knee. If we're hovering, pull that core in, bring the torso up. Right hip forward, square your hips. Widen the stance if needed for balance. Anchor the tailbone down, reach the arms forward and up. Shrug the shoulders from the ears, neck is long and loose. Balancing in high lunge or transitioning to Virabhadrasana 1 by drawing the right heel down and into the mat. Bigger stretch in Warrior 1, still trying to square the hips. Good modifications. Good. One more breath. Then one more inhale in our pose. Back heel needs to lift back up. If it's grounded, the exhale will bring us down. There's no rush. Use your core, use your legs, use your thigh. Bring back knee down first if we need to. Fingertips down. Left foot sweeps back. Kneeling plank, full plank. Hold your plank. Choose a resting pose or move with the breath through a vinyasa. Exhaling down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling, Bhujangasana. Exhaling, push-up prop, coming back down. Inhaling, pushing back up, kneeling or full plank. Exhaling, resting pose. Whatever that looks like for you and your body tonight. One more breath. Next inhale, looks forward. Step, walk the feet to the hands, hands to the feet. Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Hands to shins or higher. Locust those arms if you want it. Exhale, sit back to Utkatasana. Arms reach forward and up. Inhale, press the feet into the floor. Straighten the legs. Reach all the way up to the ceiling. Drishti up to the fingertips for a little bit more extension. Turn those palms out. Exhale, float the arms down. Fix the gaze. Pause in Tadasana mountain pose. Just observe the body and the breath. Turning the palms out, inhale, reach wide, reach overhead, big stretch. Bring the palms to touch and exhale to the heart center. All right, again, we should feel a little warmer, heart rate increases. So that's just one round of Surya Namaskar. I can feel my heart moving. I haven't been doing a lot of cardio movement in my body lately, but just one round of that, moving with that intention, that mindfulness can be really powerful and really strengthening for ourselves. So we're going to move into our first standing pose. This is Parshvottanasana, sometimes called pyramid pose. It's going to be a big stretch for the backs of those thighs and those hips that we were talking about earlier for some of us. If you have 2 yoga blocks, you can place 2 yoga blocks to the front of your mat. If you have a folding chair and you want a little bit more help, like I'm going to place that towards the front of my mat. You might not need assistance, but it's really nice to have it there in case we do. So I'll give us a moment to get our props situated, and my water bottle is walked away from me. So then we'll bring ourselves back into Tadasana. Feet or hips width apart. So hips width apart, a few inches. We're not sure, bend your knees. You're measuring about those 2 fists distance apart between the balls of the feet. Both legs nice and strong. In this pose, our hips are pointing, shining forward with those hip lights. So bring the hands onto those hips. And remember, we want to continue to pull that front body to back body. Step the right foot back just a couple feet. So this isn't as far back of a lunge as we were just doing. The heel will turn in slightly, maybe not as much as Virabhadrasana one, so the toes are slightly angled out. Bring that right hip forward, left hip back, so again, the hips are even, pelvis should stay level. Make sure to unjam those knees, so if you're locking your knees out and pushing them too far back, just give them a micro bend. Pull the belly in, squeeze the shoulder blades together, open the heart, big breath in. Moving from the hips, as you exhale, feel your hands pouring your pelvis forward. Strong legs, strong core. Come down a little bit, pause. Inhale. Exhale, maybe we go a little further. Fingertips to your props. Try to keep your back, low back nice and level and square. Notice where you're carrying your weight in the feet. Ideally, we have about equal weight in both feet, side to side, front to back. Let the breath guide you. You might have your drishti down towards the ground. Fingertips might come a little further down. Those of you following that exhale further into the pose, eventually the drishti will be your left big toe. We should all be feeling a big stretch up the back of the left leg, especially that left hamstring, the hip. Some of us in the back of our right Achilles and calf. Now if we're moving deeper, belly to thighs, take your drishti to your left knee. And then it can be a little bit of rounding in the upper back. You'll apply throat lock, Jalandhara Bandha, drawing the chin to the chest. And then trying to make contact with your knee and your third eye center, the eyebrow center. And if you're really close, it's okay to bend your knee forward to make that contact. But you have to stay connected to the core and to the stability and strength in your legs to protect your back. We'll all try one more deep breath in the pose. The next inhale will bring us about halfway out. So fingertips will walk forward, drishti comes forward. We want to lift our chest up, re-engage through the feet and the legs if we've lost it a little bit. Exhale, one hand at a time to those hips. Bend your front knee if you need a little extra assistance. Use the core. And then inhale, lift up through the crown of the head. For some of us, that was an inversion again. Exhale, step right foot forward. Float the arms down, pause in Tadasana. Turn the palms out. Inhale, breathing. Reach up, create some length and space in the front of the body. Turn your palms back out. Exhale, hands back to the hips. Hip lights are shining straight forward to the front corners of the mat. Left foot steps back. Again, not too big of a lunging stance, maybe about 2 feet. Let that left heel angle in slightly, just 10, 15 degrees. Shine that left hip forward, right hip back, so the hips are equal and square and level. Front body, back body, core is engaged. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, a little bit more heart opening. Inhale. Make sure those knees are unlocked, and on the exhale, hinge from the hips. And you pause, maybe a quarter of the way, maybe a half of the way. So it's not about rushing in or out of the pose. Every part of the pose is part of our practice. Let the breath guide you. So we might find our props. Notice where we're shifting our weight around, front to back, side to side. Try to keep those hips and low back as level and square as possible. Big stretch now starts up the back of the right thigh into the hip. Maybe a stretch for that left Achilles and calf. Drishti slightly forward, right big toe. Maybe for some of us, belly to thigh. We look at our right kneecap. We start to apply throat lock, Jalandhara Bandha, chin to chest compression, and then try to get that knee to forehead compression. A little bit of rounding in the upper back is okay at that point. It's just a different variation of the pose. One more breath in our pose. Next inhale starts to bring us out of the posture about halfway. Walk the fingertips forward, find your props. Pull the belly in, lift the chest. Reconnect to the strong legs and the core if we've lost it. Exhale, one hand at a time to those hips. Bend that front knee a little bit more, that's okay. Press off that front foot to inhale up through the crown of the head. Stand tall. Left foot forward. Arms float beside the body. Tadasana. Take a breath here. Turn those palms out. Inhale, reach wide and up. Drishti to the thumbs for a little bit of extension. Bringing the palms to touch. Exhale, hands to heart. So we're gonna make another transition here. Whenever we're moving props, especially if we're bending down and picking things up, it should still be a really nice mindful movement. Bend your knees, use your core. If you're moving chairs, just be careful as well. The next pose we're gonna practice is Prasarita Padottanasana, or a standing straddle pose. So we'll all wanna turn to the long edge of our yoga mat as well, so that when we open our feet out nice and wide, we have a grip there. So I'll let us reorganize. Yoga props will still be short, or blocks, excuse me, will be shoulder width apart if you have 2 blocks or books or whatever you might be using. I moved my seat of my chair forward to the middle of our mat. Then standing at the middle of the mat, we can just take a nice big step out with our feet 1 foot at a time. Extend the arms out from the shoulders. Now, when we come into this position, this is a really wide stance. Our ankles are as wide as if we flexed our hands over our wrists. And we want the toes to turn forward. Your knees should also be facing forward at this point. Then we'll bring our hands under those hips again, because this is where the movement happens. Now we'll turn the toes slightly inward. The knees should follow. So this is internal rotation in our thigh bones. Pull the front body in, strong core, strong legs. Pick up your toes if you lose it. Gently squeeze the shoulder blades together if you want to open the heart a little bit more. Inhale. Exhale, move from the hips. So the heart should stay open. The core is connected, the thighs are strong, legs are strong. Again, come 10%, 15%, maybe 25%, and then pause. Push into the earth through the 4 corners of both feet. Legs should be totally engaged. Squeeze those muscles to the bone, especially the front of the legs. Follow the breath. So our inhales in this pose will create length and space. And our exhales will create more contraction and allow us to move into that space. So we're using both of those elements together. Again, fingertips might come down to the props or the floor. Keep the spine long. Those of you moving a little further into the pose, fingertips walk back between the feet. Bending the elbows straight back like the legs of a bird. At that point, we'll go back into an inversion where you may either keep your drishti underneath the tip of the nose, so there's purposeful compression at the base of the skull and back of the neck, or you may take your drishti behind you between the legs, either to the line of the horizon or a spot on the floor. But we should still be pulling our shoulders away from our ears. So our shoulders should not be collapsing into our ears. So we still are maintaining strength. Good. I like the posture. The alignment looks great. Feel the breath. Big stretch for some of us up the backs of the legs, inner thighs again. One more breath. Next inhale leads us about halfway out of the pose. Walk those fingertips forward. Lift the chest and the heart. Reconnect through the legs into the feet. Squeeze the muscles of the core. Exhale, one hand at a time onto those hips. Inhale, lead through the crown of the head, coming all the way back up. Big breath in. Try to inhale even more air, reaching the arms out, palms up. Inhale, inhale, inhale from that inversion. Gaze up for a little bit of extension, palms touch. Exhale, hands to heart, heel, toe, or start to step those feet back in. So I'll make another adjustment here. Carefully move the props out of the way that might be nearby. And if you have a yoga strap, go ahead and grab it. You do not need it for this next pose. You might not even want it for the next pose. Sometimes it becomes more of a obstacle than a assistant. And our props work as assistants, like a best friend standing next to you to prop you up. So your choice. I'll give us modifications for all of it. This is Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. This is a super big, powerful balancing pose. If you've been coming to the class lately, you know this is a Really intense pose. It might not look like it, but it is. So do the modifications. You can always do Vrikshasana or tree pose. It's still a hip opener, and you're still getting all of that beneficial parts of the pose for our brain. All right, let's get to it. So standing, squeezing the insides of the feet together. Compact the hips. Lift up through those lower bandhas. So you want to tighten up through the pelvic floor, lower abdominals just below the navel center. So the lower half of the body, really nice, strong pillar. Upper half of the body is going to be doing some work too, but try to stand as tall as possible through the crown of the head. Now we'll bend up the right heel, hands on the hips, and squeeze the muscles, those hip flexors, to bend the right knee up. That foot needs to be as active as possible. It's not hanging out down there. You're pulling those toes up to the shin bone. So some of us might stay right here. This is very intense. Push the left leg through the ground. If we fall out, we just come back to it. We can reach for that kneecap and help lift it up, but keep the shoulders pulling back against that invisible wall. Adding the belt, you've got to loop it around the ball of the foot. And then try to bring the belt to the inside of the knee, holding on with the right hand. The shoulder is still in alignment. The fuller expression of the pose, use walls or chairs if they're nearby, reaches the foot forward, but the upper body stays tall and strong. That's going to put pressure on that low back. So I would highly recommend not trying to straighten the leg if you have any low back issues. Breathe. Next position, inhale, knee, leg opens out to the side. So this pose mimics the pose that we do, Supta Padangusthasana, on the floor. Knee should be pointing out, toes should be pointing out. Squeeze outer knee to hip. Again, the fuller version is to try to straighten the leg up from the hip. Elbow bent or straight, more important that we're still standing tall. Left arm reaches out. If there's not a wall there, palm faces forward, thumb up. Drishti turns to that thumb. Breathe. Big breath in. Next exhale, gaze moves back forward. Knee, leg moves back forward. Hand to hip. Now release the belt. You can try to keep it in one hand or just let it fall to the floor. It doesn't matter. Hold here or try to extend the leg out. Full version, point the toe, lift the leg up without leaning back for 3, 2, 1. Excellent job. Bring that foot down. Float the arms out. Pause. Observe the body and the breath. Notice any sensations that might come up in that challenging pose. And then let them go. So grab the strap if we dropped it, if we're using it. Squeeze the feet and the legs together. Compact the hips. Lift up through the bandhas. Stand tall. Head and shoulders on invisible wall. Hands to hips. Use these modifications for your body. Left heel up. Squeeze the muscles to lift the knee up. Flex the toes to the shin. This might be as far as we go today. We might be in Vrikshasana or tree pose. We might be doing Supta Padangusthasana on the floor. I love it. It all works. Stand tall. Hands to kneecap. Shoulders back, head back. Breathing. If we hook the strap under the ball of the foot, you straighten the foot forward, standing tall. Next position is to open up. Opening the knee, the toes should be pointing out. Straight leg or knee bent. The position, the upper body should not change. Right arm can reach out, palm faces forward, thumb up. The next big challenge in the balancing version is to turn your drishti and look to that thumb. If we dance out of it, just dance out of it safely. I love it, good job. One more big breath in. Exhale, look forward, hand to hip, knee or leg forward. Undo the belt. You can keep your knee bent and just hold it up. Stretch the leg out or try to point to the toes and lift up for 3, 2, 1. Lower it down. Float the arms out. Observe and breathe. Good job, you all. So those of us that do still are holding onto the belt, just let it go near the mat. We'll use it again later. We're gonna come back down towards the ground. If you're there, you're welcome to just hang out, wait for us there. You can do some little massaging for your back, some bridge, or come back up and join us if you modify. And we'll all end up back towards the top of our mat, standing tall in Tadasana. Feel the posture here that we've already created, the length up through the crown of the head. Next inhale, turn the palms out, reach the arms wide, big reach up, drishti to thumbs. Really create some space in the front of the body. Now on this exhale, bend those knees, pull the belly in, swan dive those arms back down and around. Take your time moving into your forward fold, whatever that looks like for you tonight. Those of you going back down all the way into Uttanasana, we'll hang out here for 1 or 2 breaths to stretch out the back again. Inhale, halfway lift, open the heart, squeeze the shoulders. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Try to switch which foot you always use to step back. Big step back to our plank. Again, you're welcome to hold your planks, full or kneeling. You're welcome to go into your resting pose. If you'd like to join me for a vinyasa, we exhale, lowering all the way down through Chaturanga Dandasana. Point those toes. Inhale, strengthen the back, Bhujangasana, your version. Exhale, lower back down, tuck the toes in the tail, elbows in, bellies in. Inhale, push back up to kneeling or full plank. Exhale, our resting pose. So our resting pose can change each time. Maybe it's a breath in down dog, and then a breath in tabletop, and a breath in child's pose. I really want us all to create that freedom in our practice. If we're mindful, every day our practice will be a little bit different. And that is our practice, practicing that santosha or contentment wherever we are tonight. Kitty. 1 more breath. My down dog people, feel free to inhale, lift your heels up 1 more time to stretch out those feet. On our exhale, we're going to lower down to our knees, point our toes, and sit back into child's pose. Hands to feet, head to the ground. 1 more breath here. And then bring the hands into the shoulders, tuck the chin, and on the inhale, round it up 1 vertebra at a time. We'll shift our weight over to either hip and bring our feet forward. So we are going to come down onto our backs tonight. We'll want our straps nearby because we're going to go right into our Supta Padangusthasana. So we'll mimic some of those same positions we did in our balancing pose. This evening, we're going to do things just slightly different. So we'll go through Supta Padangusthasana, maybe another pose or 2. Move into Shavasana to relax for several minutes. And then I'm going to bring us back up. And then tonight we'll finish with our pranayama, our mantra, and then just a couple minutes in a seated meditation. So our ending of our class will look a little different tonight. So to come down to our backs, you're welcome to come to one side and safely get yourself there, or plant the soles of the feet. Open the knees wide, pull the belly in, reach the fingertips forward, and we use the strength of the core that we've been building to slowly come down, articulating the spine 1 vertebra at a time. Once we touch down, we'll let the head come down. We'll extend the arms overhead. We'll straighten and stretch out the legs on the middle of our yoga mat and come into our long body stretch here for a moment. So this is a good time to loosen up the clothing, move the ponytails out of the way, and make sure you're where you want to be on your mat and in your space. Exhale, let's float the arms down, walk the feet in. Hugging those knees into the body. Let's rock side to side, giving our back a little bit of a massage tonight. Now bring the feet flat to the floor, draw the shoulder blades under. Take a hold of our strap. We'll start with the right leg. So bend the right knee in, and we want to hook our yoga strap under the lower arch of the foot closer towards the heel. From there, we're going to try to get our right leg as straight as possible. For some of us, that means that the leg will be moving forward out at an angle. Just make sure that you're connected to the core and the low back stays flat to the floor. Your spine should be in a neutral position. So you'll still have a little bit of an arch in the lumbar spine, but make sure it's not hyperextending away from the mat. Like I talked about last class, people have different preferences for hand positions. I like my arms straight, my shoulders lifting up off the floor. We should be holding the strap in each hand so the heart can stay open. You may hook it around the hand so the hands have to do a little less work. Press that heel up, open the eye of the right knee. Slide the left heel forward, the left leg is just as strong. Flex that left foot. So we're focusing on the back of the right leg here. We've already done some hamstring stretching tonight. Just breathe into it. Now the right hand will hold on to the strap. Left hand is going to ground the left hip. So this is a good question we got tonight. What position should the foot be in? Well, we want to get as much external rotation in this right thigh as possible. And ideally, we'd like the leg to be a little higher than the hip. So one thing to think about is to bend the right knee first, so that thigh bone is closer to the torso. And then you want to feel like both sets of toes on each foot is turning outwardly. So when you start to open the right leg to the right, keep your left side down. Low back needs to stay grounded. You can drop your right elbow to the floor, keep tension on the belt. And then if you look at your foot, your toes might be turned out quite a bit. Depends on how externally rotated you are. So your knee and your toes should still be in the same alignment on the right leg and the left leg. So if you're looking at your left leg, the left toe should be pointing straight up, knee up. On your right leg, right toes are pointing behind you, knee should be pointing behind you, depending where your leg is though. So shoulders down, big inner thigh growing, stretch. Left arm can reach out from the shoulder, head can turn to the left. Take a breath or two here. The inhale lifts the head and the leg up. We switch hands. Now we're trying to get into this outer right thigh. So again, we try to keep the leg as straight as possible, angling the right leg across the midline. And most of us will probably feel that pretty quickly in the IT band. So feel free to massage into those muscles. Taking it into a twist, we may continue to bring the right leg across the body, allowing that right hip to lift up. Keep the right shoulder down. Now for this one, I actually let my left foot kind of relax out. It's still anchored, but I'm just working on more of releasing here. So I'm letting my shoulders kind of relax. My left hand is doing most of the work. Take a breath here. So the inhale will float the head and the leg back up. Tonight, let's open the strap up, slide the left foot in and up, and pause in waterfall pose. So both legs are up into the strap in our gentle inversion. So we'll do that on the other side. We'll bring the right foot to the floor. Left leg is straight. Secure your hands, arms in position, shoulders, wherever you want. Keep the heart open. Right heel slides forward. That right leg is super strong. That right foot is super active. Working on opening up the back of the left leg. Moving into the hip opening, left hand holds on, right hand to hip. External rotation again. So we want to feel like we're, like I said, Charlie Chaplin, both feet open. That'll give you a deeper stretch. You may need to bend the left knee first. Open the leg out. Keep your right side down. Hips and low back stay grounded. Keep tension on that belt. Use that left elbow as a kickstand. Right arm may move out from the shoulder. Head turns to the right. Some nice deep breaths here in the pose. Next inhale brings the head and the leg up. We'll switch hands. Right hand will hold on. IT band, just cross that midline a little bit. Get into that outer hip and thigh. Massage into that area. Taking this side into the twist, we'll continue to let the leg move over. The left hip will come up. Keep some tension on the belt. Relax the left shoulder down, left arm out. At this point, if you want to relax the right leg, even close the eyes, just take a couple deep breaths. Next inhale brings the head and the leg back up, help it up. Open the strap up, slide the right foot in and up. Pausing for a moment in our waterfall pose. Wonderful pose to do towards the end of the day as well. Undo all the effects of gravity on the lower half of our body all day. Redirect that energy flow and blood flow to our vital organs and to our brain. And then let's bend those knees, undo the strap, give those knees a little hug in. Draw the nose up to the knees for a little bit more of a stretch for the back, compression for the belly. Take a nice deep breath in. And then on this exhale, we can release the body down and move ourselves out into final relaxation or a restorative pose of our choice. So if we want to move into a supported bound angle pose or Baddha Konasana with the soles of the feet touching, maybe add some pillows and blankets that support the knees. Continuing to elevate the legs over a pillow or a few blankets can be quite nice for our low back and our body. Or add extra lift underneath the head or spine as needed. Adding layers at this time is always nice too. So as the body cools down, having layers on top of us or socks. We just want to be as comfortable as possible. This is a pose that we practice like every other pose we just practiced. One of the more important poses that we practice. Find and feel symmetry in the body from the left side to the right side, front to back. Loosen everything up. Poof the cheeks up with air, wiggle out the mouth, tongue and jaw, rock the head out as needed until we can find the very back center of the skull, until we release any tension we might be holding around the jaw and the mouth and tongue. And then we want to press that pause button and cultivate stillness in the pose. Let a quality of heaviness come over the whole body. Feel the weight of the arms as we relax all the way down the arms from the shoulders, elbows, wrists, into the hands and fingertips. Feel the weight in the legs. Relaxing all the way down from the hips, the knees, the ankles, feet, and toes. Relax the larger muscles of the abdomen, around the hips and the buttocks. Relax the smaller muscles around the face, the forehead, the brow, the eyebrow center. Relax the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. The breath is easy, gentle, and quiet. And if the mind wanders, we simply bring it back to this peaceful breath, giving ourselves permission to let go, to relax, and to sink into Shavasana. So we can gently start to come back to the rhythm of the breath and slowly start to breathe some life back into our body. Waking up toes and fingertips, giving the head a little rock side to side. Depending where we are with our props, our next inhale can re-extend those arms overhead into our long body stretch, straightening the legs out and giving our bodies a big stretch right to left, front to back. One more big breath in to spread fingers and toes. On the exhale, we float those arms down, walk the feet in, and draw the knees in to massage the back. And then bringing the right arm beside the head, we'll roll onto our right side, pausing for a moment in Supta Balasana. And then again, keeping those eyes soft or closed, let's press down to the ground and slowly bring the body up. So this is where we're going to do something just a little different tonight. We are going to come into a seated position. So you can softly open the eyes, but try to keep your awareness somewhat inward. If you have a prop you want to sit up on, so you can sit up nice and tall, add that prop underneath the sit bones. And we'll come into any comfortable position with the legs. So we might be in our easy cross, Sukhasana, heel to heel, or any other position that makes it comfortable for us to sit. Find those sit bones, adjust the surroundings, the clothing again, and sit up as tall as possible. So for tonight, I just want us to take a few rounds of our deep abdominal breathing, yogic breathing, diaphragmic breathing. This breath work has a very calming effect on our nervous system, really beneficial to do whenever we feel stress levels rising, and especially in the evening. So when we sit up tall, if it helps us concentrate, feel free to place one or both hands on the belly. You can also just mentally concentrate on the belly, resting the hands on the knees and chin mudra, index finger to thumb. We'll be breathing in and out of our nose like we normally do, but we'll try to create some movement here in the abdomen. So on our inhales, we relax the belly completely. It expands like a big balloon. On our exhale, we contract the abdominal muscles, drawing the navel inward towards the spine. Inhale, breathing, relaxes the abdomen and expands. Exhaling, gentle contraction, draw the navel inward towards the spine. Now we all might be moving at a little different pace with each other, that's fine. But try to keep the breath even and equal. So if you're inhaling for a count of 3, when you get to the exhale, you want to try to exhale for a count of 3. When we inhale and that belly expands, it allows the diaphragm to drop down, which pulls this breath deep into our lungs. And when we exhale and contract, it helps push the diaphragm up, which helps expels all that old air out of the lungs. Be very mindful of the posture and take just a couple more rounds. So we'll want to finish at the bottom of an exhale. So the next time you get to your exhale, exhale completely, draw the belly in towards the spine. And then we'll let go of trying to control and follow the breath for a moment. So let it all go. The breath will wander away wherever it wants to. And then the next thing we'll practice is some of our mantra work. I introduced the Loka Samasta mantra last class. I did put this mantra in the chat. We'll repeat it just several times, maybe about a minute or two, and then we will just pause and silence for another minute or two. We can continue to mentally repeat the mantra or simply try to concentrate on our third eye center. This mantra, on its very basic level, means may all beings everywhere be happy and free. So I will start out. Feel free to join in as you like. Otherwise, you can continue to just sit and concentrate and meditate. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 And then as usual, keeping the eyes closed and being mindful of our space, let's float our arms out beside the body with the palms up. We'll take another nice deep breath in, this time floating those arms all the way up to the ceiling and gathering up everything we need for the rest of our evening. Turn those palms back out, float those arms all the way back down to the ground, letting go of all that other junk we don't need this evening. And then one more breath, inhale, reaching up. Bringing the palms to touch and exhaling hands to heart, bowing the head to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that allows us to come together and practice our yoga together. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Om, peace, peace, peace.